Hello, today we will see together how to create a list using SharePoint Online. In general, lists in SharePoint Online enable us to create content areas in a tabular format. In actuality, these are registries where we have the capability to determine the structure of our data. We have the option to utilize a list for a compilation of supplier contacts, colleague contacts, customer contacts, or a collection of activities and tasks, or a list of issues that have been generated within the company, a list of requests, and so on and so forth. Lists are utilized to digitize internal processes within the organization via SharePoint, frequently in conjunction with the Power Platform. Yes, it is possible to set up automation in such a way that when a user creates a request for a new company device within a list, for example, we can trigger an automation flow that requests approval for that device from the person's manager, IT department, and any other necessary automation. Let's go through the steps together to create this list, because it's a straightforward process that can significantly streamline the device request procedure and enhance efficiency in obtaining approvals. Sorry, I just wanted to introduce myself real quick and then I'll let you go ahead. I'm one of the Microsoft MVPs and I'm an expert in the technologies that revolve around Microsoft 365. So if you want updates on Microsoft's collaboration tools, the world of intranets, Microsoft 365 Copilot, SharePoint, Teams, and all the other tools, subscribe to the channel. Let's now go inside my computer. What you see here is a communication site on SharePoint Online that has been created using the intranet AI components. You can click on the New button, which is located at the top left corner. This button can be accessed on any site where you have edit or full control permission granted by the site administrator. The very first item in this menu is indeed list creation. If I click, I can open a pop-up where I see the option to create a list from scratch, starting with no pre-existing items or content. The option to create the list starting from one of the templates that Microsoft provides me. As you can see here, there are some examples similar to the ones I mentioned earlier. As an illustration, there is the issue tracker, there are templates for managing work tasks, templates for making requests, in this specific case travel requests, and so on and so forth. Furthermore, for a more advanced functionality, you also have the choice to specify your templates in order to make them accessible to your colleagues. Right now I don't have any, but in the tab from your organization you will find this information. Additionally, I also have the choice to generate the list by beginning from a pre-existing source. I can create a list from another list that I already have on the SharePoint site, and this is very useful for copying the structure of a list. Alternatively, I can create the list starting from an Excel file or a CSV file. Why are these options available? Because, as I mentioned, lists are very similar to using Excel. In fact, they consist of tabular data with columns and rows. Excel, in comparison to a list, provides us with all of those calculation functionalities that are not inherent to a list. I generate the list by starting from the empty template, naming it Customer Contacts. I have the option to include a description and then decide whether this list should be visible or not in the site navigation. This is an optional feature, and the decision is entirely up to me. This feature usually adds the link to my new list in the left navigation, but in this particular situation, the left navigation is not present on my site, so the choice I make is inconsequential. Once I make the decision to create my list, SharePoint will redirect me to the specific area where I can start adding content to populate the list with relevant information and data. By default, every time a new list is created, its structure includes only a single field, which is the title field. This is a default field that you cannot remove, but you have the option to rename it. In this particular case, I do not want to refer to this column as title, but I would rather name it Customer Name. In order to change the column name, I can click on the drop-down menu, select the option to rename the column, and then provide the new name as Customer Name. Upon completing this task, I am provided with the opportunity to define the structure by adding a column and selecting from the various columns that are available within the SharePoint platform. I have the ability to create columns for entering textual data, numerical data, choices, dates, people or groups, currency numbers, yes or no choices, checkboxes, location data, images, and various other types of data and functionalities that can be utilized for diverse purposes. We won't delve into all these column types in detail because there are truly many, but you can find information in both the documentation and in my other videos. In this case, I want to create the structure of my customer registry where, in addition to the customer's name, I would like to add an email field. A text field type works perfectly for the email, and I will name it email. I can select advanced settings such as the length of values to be entered in this field. I can also choose whether this field is mandatory or not, which is a configuration that is often set. Also, I can decide if this column should have unique values. In this situation, it's helpful for me to do that because I wouldn't want duplicate customer contacts with the same email. Once I click on the Save button, I immediately see the email field appearing within my list of contacts. I will also be creating new columns in this particular case. I am going to create a column that will help determine whether a customer is active or not, and I will select the column type as yes, no. For this purpose, I will simply name the column as active and will have the option to choose the default value. The default value is important because when I create a new item in this list, I have the option to automatically populate this field. Here is my new field. Following that, I will proceed to add a field for the date. To manage the most recent date I had with my client, I can decide whether to include the time or not. In this instance, I do not want to include it. I can also select a user-friendly format that is easy to read. After clicking on Save, here is my field. I created several fields to demonstrate that within SharePoint Online, the list automatically generates all the forms for inputting and editing data, in addition to providing options for viewing and deleting the data. This feature saves time and effort as it eliminates the need to manually create and customize forms for data management. By clicking on the button at the top left, I can create a new item. I have the option to enter the name of my customer, their email, indicate their active customer status, and provide the date of the last contact made. As you can see, each field has different ways of entering data based on its type. Additionally, by default, it is also possible to attach documents to each list. The distinction between a list and a document library lies in the fact that while a list item consists only of values placed in columns, a document library item is a file. In contrast, in a list, I have the ability to add multiple attachments to a single item. As I mentioned, SharePoint not only allows adding new items but also enables viewing the list content and using the edit form to modify data. Within each display form, there is also an optional feature to add comments, facilitating collaboration on the list content. This feature enhances the overall functionality of SharePoint, making it a versatile platform for managing and organizing information. It provides users with a comprehensive set of tools and capabilities for efficient data management and collaboration. Furthermore, a highly practical feature that enhances the experience of working with lists, making it comparable to working in Excel, is the grid edit functionality. By clicking on this button, I have the ability to edit the content of the list in a grid format similar to Excel. In this grid, I can define various details such as my client's addresses, their active status, the date of their last contact, and any other data I choose to include in this list. It provides me with the flexibility to edit and modify the data just like I would in an Excel file, making it a convenient and efficient way to manage and update information in a structured manner. To exit this mode, you can simply click again on the button at the top left corner of the screen in order to exit the grid input mode. So here is the way you can create a list in SharePoint Online, and we have also explored some use cases of lists within the Microsoft 365 collaboration system. We will continue to delve into this topic in future discussions.